I never thought I'd be the kind of guy writing something like this, but here I am. Been married to Jessica for about 7 years now, and honestly, I thought we had a decent life. Nothing spectacular, but steady. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I always believed we were solid until recently. The signs didn't exactly scream cheating, but they were enough to get me suspicious. Jessica's been acting weird, distant, like she's got a secret she's desperately trying to hide. She's always been a little bitchy, quick to lie if it suited her, but lately it was like she was on edge all the time. I first started noticing it about 2 months ago. She began canceling plans at the last minute, saying she was busy with work. But I knew her job wasn't that demanding. She's a manager at a boutique, not some high-powered exec with endless late nights. She'd come home late, smelling different, always perfume I didn't recognize, and not the kind she used to wear. She'd brush off my questions with that fake smile, trying to act like everything was fine. But I knew her better than that. It didn't sit right. Then came the little things. She started hiding her phone more, texting someone secretly. I'd catch her tapping at her screen when she thought I wasn't looking, and she'd quickly lock it or put it face down. She'd also get defensive if I asked who she was talking to, which was unlike her. Jessica's always been a little bitchy, sure, but she's never been outright sneaky before. That's when I started to get the gnawing suspicion that something was seriously wrong. Still, I told myself I was probably overthinking it. Maybe she was just stressed, maybe it was work, maybe she was cheating on me with her fucking boss or some guy from her gym. One night, I decided to do a little digging. I installed a monitoring app on her phone, something I never thought I'd do, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something big. The next few days, I watched her texts and calls, and what I saw blew my mind. There were messages with a guy named Derek, an immigration attorney Jessica had been seeing for our citizenship paperwork. I knew about him, of course. We'd gone to him for some legal stuff last year. But these messages, they weren't professional. They were flirty, suggestive, and downright inappropriate. She'd been sending him pictures, nothing explicit but enough to get the point across. They were talking about plans to meet up outside the office, talking about sex, about how much she liked his attention. My stomach dropped when I saw her say, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I need this," and him reply, "Me too. You're so hot when you act all innocent." That's when I knew for sure my wife was cheating on me, with her own immigration lawyer no less. The guy who was supposed to help us become citizens. That's just perfect, isn't it? I was furious, but mostly I was hurt. How could she do this, after all the years, all the promises? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. For days, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept replaying those texts in my head, her lies, her secret meetings, the way she lied about her work trips. She told me she was going to a conference in a neighboring city, but she was really with Derek. I kept thinking about the betrayal, the way she used my trust to hide her affair. I felt so stupid for not noticing sooner, for not seeing the signs. I needed to confront her. I waited for the right moment, knowing it wouldn't be easy. When I finally called her out, she was defensive, typical Jessica. She spun some bullshit about how I was paranoid, insecure, that I was making things up because I didn't want to believe she was having an affair. She said Derek was just a friend, that I was reading too much into their messages. She pretended to be the victim, crying that I didn't trust her, that I was ruining everything over some stupid messages. But I saw through her. I knew this wasn't some innocent mistake, it was outright betrayal. That moment, standing there in our living room, I felt my world crashing down. I looked at her, her bitchy smirk, her lies, and I realized I was done. No more pretending, no more denial. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but right then, all I could feel was a mixture of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak. I'd trusted her for years, and she'd thrown it all away for some lawyer's attention. It was like my entire life was crumbling around me. After she finished her lies, I just stood there trying to process what I'd just heard. Jessica's face was all fake sympathy, like she thought I was just overreacting. She kept saying I was paranoid, that I was accusing her of something she didn't do, that I was just jealous because I was insecure. Yeah, right, jealous. I couldn't believe her. The woman who's supposed to be my wife, the person I trusted more than anyone, was out there sending sexy texts and planning secret encounters with her lawyer. That's some next-level betrayal. I felt this surge of rage and sadness all at once. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't just let her get away with it. I needed a plan. Not just to find out more, but to really make her feel what she'd done. I didn't want her to think she could just lie her way out of it. So I started digging even deeper. I made copies of all the texts, all the messages she sent him. I saved screenshots, compiled everything into a file. I wanted proof, irrefutable evidence. I knew she'd try to deny it again, so I had to be ready. I also decided to follow her that same night. Jessica told me she was going to meet a friend for drinks, but I knew better. I followed her to a hotel downtown. I saw her go in with Derek. They were there for hours, clearly not just talking about paperwork. My stomach twisted, but I felt a weird sense of relief too. Now I knew the full extent of her betrayal. That night I stayed up, thinking about what to do next. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time with everything laid out. I couldn't just let her keep lying and pretending like nothing was wrong. I also started to think about revenge, not some petty game, but something that would hit her where it hurts. She'd always been so bitchy and dismissive of my feelings, so I decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done, to understand that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. The next day, I arranged a meeting with a divorce lawyer. I wasn't going to stay married to someone who could lie and cheat so easily. I also reached out to some friends, told them what I'd found, just to get some advice. Honestly, I was all over the place, hurt, angry, confused. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her win without consequences. I had to get out of this, and I had to make her realize that her actions weren't just going to hurt me temporarily. They'd change everything. In the meantime, I decided to keep quiet about what I knew. I wanted her to keep deceiving herself, thinking she was getting away with it. I wanted her to keep lying, keep pretending she was innocent. That way, when I finally exposed her, it would be all the more humiliating for her. I wanted her to think she'd fooled me, that she'd kept her secret safe. But I was already planning something far more strategic. I'd show her that a man with nothing left to lose can be really dangerous. Every day after that, I watched her. Her bitchy smirk never changed, but I could see her nervousness creeping in. She knew I was onto her, even if she refused to admit it. Out loud, I kept collecting evidence, reinforcing my resolve. I didn't want her to think I was just angry. I wanted her to feel the cold, hard weight of what she'd done. When I finally did confront her again, I wanted to be ready. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line and that I wasn't going to let her get away with it. You know that feeling when your whole world flips upside down and suddenly nothing seems real? That's how I felt. I used to trust her completely, and now I was questioning everything. It's a weird, suffocating place to be. I thought I knew everything about her, but turns out she was just hiding her true self. Bitchy, manipulative, willing to cheat on her husband for some meaningless thrill. I kept telling myself I'd get through it, that I'd find a way to move on, but deep down, I knew this wasn't just going to blow over. It was going to change everything forever. The moment I finally decided to confront her again, I knew I had to do it differently. No more accusations, no shouting, just cold, hard facts. I sat her down in the living room, laid the phone, the screenshots, everything out on the table between us. I wanted her to see that I wasn't bluffing, that I'd uncovered everything. Jessica's face twisted into that bitchy smirk, like she thought she could just brush it off, call me paranoid again. But I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Jessica, I know about Derek. I know what you've been doing behind my back. All those messages, the meetings, the secret hotel nights. You think I'm stupid. I see through your lies now." Her eyes widened for a split second. She knew I had her dead to rights. She tried to deny it, spinning some bullshit about how she and Derek were just friends, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. But I didn't buy it. I told her I had the proof, screenshots, her own words, the hotel receipts. I told her I knew she'd been lying to me for months, sneaking around, cheating on me with her lawyer while pretending everything was fine. Her face turned red, her bitchy mask cracking just enough for me to see the real, manipulative person underneath. She kept denying, turning on the tears, saying I was overreacting, that I was insecure. That's classic Jessica, blame everyone else for her mistakes, act like she's the victim. But I wasn't buying her act anymore. The conversation got heated fast. She started yelling, calling me a jealous idiot, saying I was crazy for thinking she'd do something so disgusting. She even tried blaming me, saying I was neglectful and that I drove her to it. Like somehow it was my fault she cheated. That made me even angrier. I told her I was done playing those games, that I wasn't going to be some fool anymore. I told her she could lie, she could deny all she wanted, but I knew the truth, and I was done trusting her. That's when she threw a tantrum, screaming that she deserved better than me, that she was bored, that she needed excitement. Honestly, I never thought she'd be that bitchy and unrepentant. It was like she was proud of her betrayal. She even had the nerve to say, "You're such a boring husband anyway. Maybe I did us both a favor." That hit me hard. For a second, I wondered if I was imagining it all, if I'd somehow missed the signs, if I was just overreacting. But no, deep down, I knew the truth. She'd been unfaithful and she didn't care. I felt a cold emptiness settle in my chest. I realized I was at a crossroads. I could try to work it out, maybe forgive her, or I could just cut it all off and leave. But honestly, the damage was done. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. Every ounce of trust I had was shattered. I started thinking about the future, about how I'd feel forever knowing she'd cheated, how I'd have to live with this betrayal for the rest of my life if I stayed. That's when I made my decision. I told her I was done, that I wanted her out of the house, that I'd be filing for divorce. I wanted her to feel the consequences of what she did, that this wasn't just some fling, but a complete betrayal of everything we had. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was knowing that the woman I loved and trusted had lied to me for months, had played me for a fool. The anger I felt was like a hot fire burning through my gut, mixed with sadness because I'd lost someone I once cared about deeply. I kept telling myself I'd be okay, that I'd move on, but right then I just wanted her gone. I wanted to erase the image of her sneaking away, texting Derek, lying through her teeth. I wanted to rebuild myself from scratch, to figure out who I was without her. That night, she packed her bags and left. She kept cursing me, calling me possessive, saying I was overreacting again. But I didn't care. Her words just bounced off me. I sat alone in that empty house, staring at the wall, feeling a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. I knew I'd never forget this, but I also knew I was done being a victim. From now on, I'd protect myself, learn from this painful lesson, and somehow I'd find a way to move forward. The house was eerily quiet after Jessica left. Silence where I used to hear her bitchy comments, her constant nagging, her voice snapping at me over small things. That silence was worse than any fight, worse than her yelling. It was like a reminder that she was really gone and that I was finally alone with my thoughts. I spent the next few days in a daze, going through the evidence I'd collected, replaying everything in my head, trying to understand how the woman I loved could turn into this manipulative, cheating bitch. At first, I felt a lot of anger, deep, seething anger. Why did she do it? Was it just for some meaningless sex, or was there something else? The more I thought about it, the more I realized she'd always been a bitch, selfish, entitled, and quick to lie when it suited her. But this was next level. She'd betrayed me with her own lawyer, a guy who was supposed to help us become citizens. That just made it even worse. The thought that she used her citizenship meetings as a cover, that she'd cheat during our appointments, made my blood boil. But beneath the anger, there was sadness too. I kept asking myself what I'd done wrong, whether I should have seen the signs earlier. I kept thinking about all the times I'd tried to make things better, to be patient with her bitchy moods, and how she'd just brushed me off or lied through her teeth. It hurt to realize she'd been hiding this all along, sneaking around, lying about her meetings, her calls, her plans with Derek. I replayed all those moments, and each one hit me like a punch to the gut. I knew I had to do something about it. I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. After all, this wasn't just about the betrayal. It was about taking control and making sure she knew I wasn't going to be some pathetic fool. I pulled out my phone and started making some calls. First, to a lawyer. No way I was going to let her get away with this without consequences. I wanted her to see that cheating, lying, and sneaking around wouldn't just destroy our marriage but could also have legal repercussions. I also reached out to a private investigator, just to confirm that she was really gone and not sneaking back or doing something stupid. While I waited for the legal stuff to kick in, I couldn't help but feel a weird sense of liberation. Yeah, I was hurt, but I also finally felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I know. Longer had to pretend everything was fine. No more pretending she wasn't a bitch hiding her true self. I felt free, like I'd taken the first step on a long road to recovery. Still, I knew I couldn't let her keep spinning her lies. I had to gather as much proof as I could. I wanted to make sure she paid for her betrayal, not just emotionally, but practically. Over the next few days, I started to rebuild my life piece by piece. I got back into my hobbies, started working out again, and tried to focus on myself. It wasn't easy. Every time I saw her number pop up on my phone or thought about her with Derek, I'd get this sick feeling in my stomach. But I also knew I had to stay strong. I refused to let her walk all over me, not anymore. I was done being the guy who got played, the guy who believed in fairy tales. Now I was that guy who'd had enough and was ready to fight for what was rightfully mine. My dignity, my sanity, and maybe a little revenge if I could manage it. I knew the next step was to confront her legally. I had to file for divorce, push for custody of any shared assets, and make sure she didn't try to manipulate her way out of it. Jessica was good at lying, but I had enough evidence now to show her true colors. That bitchy smirk, her constant lying, her sneaky texts with Derek, all of it would come out in court if needed. I was determined to make her understand that cheating and lying had consequences, that she couldn't just run away from what she'd done and pretend it never happened. Honestly, I don't know where this leaves me now. I'm angry, I'm hurt, but I also feel like I've finally taken back some control. This whole ordeal has taught me that trust is fragile, that some people, no matter how much you love them, can turn out to be complete assholes who only care about themselves. I've lost Jessica, sure, but I gained clarity about what I want and what I don't want. I just hope I can move past this, heal, and maybe find someone who actually values honesty and respect. That's what I'm holding onto now, even if it's hard to believe in anything good after all. For anyone going through something similar, trust me, you're not alone. It's a brutal lesson, but it's also one that teaches you to be stronger. Keep your eyes open, gather all the proof you need, and don't be afraid to walk away. The pain will fade, but the lessons will stay with you forever. It's been a few weeks now since Jessica left, and honestly, I feel like I'm starting to come out of the fog. The initial shock and heartbreak are slowly giving way to a cold resolve. I've been through the legal motions, filed for divorce, separated our finances, and started the process of making sure she can't manipulate her way out of what she did. I won't lie, it's a tangled mess, but I'm handling it. Every day I wake up knowing I'm taking my life back, piece by piece. What's been really surprising, though, is how much my emotions have shifted. The anger is still there, yeah, but underneath it, there's a strange sense of relief. Like finally, I don't have to pretend Jessica isn't a bitchy, manipulative liar. I don't have to second-guess her every word or wonder if she's hiding something. It's as if a huge weight has been lifted and I can breathe again. I started reconnecting with friends, doing things I used to love, playing guitar, hitting the gym, even going out for drinks without feeling guilty. It's not perfect, but it's a start. I've also learned some tough lessons. The biggest one, trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Jessica's lies and cheating proved that. She wasn't just going behind my back. She was actively working against our marriage, planning with Derek while pretending everything was fine. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I realize now I shouldn't have ignored the warning signs. The late nights, the secret texts, her bitchy attitude when I'd ask questions, all of it was a red flag I kept dismissing until it was too late. Now I'm more cautious. I don't blindly trust anymore. I've learned to listen to my gut, to recognize the signs of deception early on. Jessica thought she could get away with her betrayal, but I made sure I had proof, screenshots, hotel receipts, her own words. I think that's what really made her realize she couldn't bullshit her way out of this. I wanted her to feel the cold reality. You don't cheat and lie without consequences, especially not to someone who's willing to fight back. Part of me feels guilty for how things turned out. I still wonder if I could have done something differently, if maybe I was too passive, too trusting. But at the same time, I know I did everything I could to keep our marriage together. Jessica chose her path, and I refused to be the one to keep carrying the weight of her betrayal. Now I focus on myself, my future, my happiness, my peace of mind. That's what matters most now. The hardest thing to accept is that I might never fully forgive her. Not for the cheating, not for the lies, not for the way she disrespected everything we built. But I'm coming to realize that forgiveness isn't always about forgetting or excusing. Sometimes, it's about letting go for your own sake. Moving on doesn't mean I have to forget what she did. It just means I won't let it control me anymore. I'm learning to accept that some wounds will heal and some betrayals leave scars. But the scars can be a reminder of what I've survived, of my strength, and of my resolve to never let someone do this to me again. Looking ahead, I'm not rushing into anything. I want to take my time, rebuild my life on my own terms. Maybe someday I'll find someone who actually deserves my trust, someone who values honesty rather than betrayal. Until then, I'll keep working on myself, learning from this nightmare and making sure I never get blindsided like this again. For anyone out there dealing with betrayal, whether it's infidelity, lies, or manipulation, know that you're not alone. It's a brutal lesson, but it's also a chance to grow stronger. Trust your instincts, gather evidence if you need to, and don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve honesty and respect. And when you finally do move on, you'll realize that surviving this mess makes you a lot more resilient than you thought. Keep your head up. The pain will fade and brighter days are ahead, even if it doesn't seem like it right now. It's been a long, brutal road, but I finally feel like I've taken back control of my life. The divorce is finalized and I've started to rebuild, learning to trust again, but slowly, carefully. Jessica's gone, and honestly, I do miss her. I miss the woman I thought I knew, the one I loved, but I don't miss being played for a fool. That betrayal changed everything, but it also made me realize how strong I am, how much I can survive, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Looking back, I see how naive I was. I always thought Jessica was just a little bitchy and self-absorbed, but I never suspected how deep her lies went. The fact that she was cheating during our citizenship meetings with Derek, her own lawyer, makes my stomach turn. It's like she used her own legal process as a cover for her betrayal. That realization hits me hard every time I think about it. She betrayed not just me, but the entire system we were trying to build our lives through. But I also learned something important. Never ignore the signs. Trust your instincts, even if it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient. I should have seen the warning signs earlier. Her secretive behavior, her dismissiveness, her quick lies. I kept brushing it off because I didn't want to believe it was true. Now I know better. I know that some people are just selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything for their own pleasure. As hard as it was, I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful that I finally saw her for what she really is, that I gathered enough proof to end it all with no doubts left. More than that, I'm proud of myself for not crawling into a hole and giving up. I could have let this break me, but instead, I used it as a wake-up call. I turned my pain into strength, and now I'm focused on healing, on finding happiness again, in my own way. I realize now that life doesn't stop because someone betrays you. It keeps going, and you get to choose how you face it. Do you let the betrayal define you? Or do you rise above it, learn from it, and become better for it? For me, the answer is clear. I'm choosing to move forward, smarter and more cautious, but also more hopeful. I know there's someone out there who's worthy of my trust, someone who won't betray me like Jessica did. I believe that deep down. I always knew it. I just needed to go through this hell to realize it. To anyone reading this, feeling like their world is collapsing, hold on. It's going to hurt like hell, but this isn't the end. It's a new beginning. Trust yourself. Don't let the lies and betrayal define you. You are stronger than you think. And someday the pain will fade, replaced by a better understanding of what you deserve. You deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares. Never settle for less. Take your time, learn your lessons, and never forget. After every storm, there's a calm. And when you come out the other side, you'll see that you're more resilient than any betrayal could ever make you believe.